Hey.
All right. See, they now know you're comedians sometimes.
Oh, I hope so. Hey, Jews. Why, there's only one Jew in the entire Upper East Side? They're all busy shopping for things they don't need. Hey, Goyim. Yeah, if you don't know what a Goy is, you are one. That's how that works. Oh, my goodness. You cross 56th Street coming uptown, you just feel uptight if you're a Jew. It's wired in. What a wonderful event. How about a hand for the speakers so far? Of course, I'm required to say that. You know, some people might have just been okay, but we're all going to be like, you were wonderful, right? Because part of happiness is lying to yourself and others. I was supposed to start at 3:50, and it's like 4:15, and if you can't trust the trust conference, this is one fucked up conference. I don't want to shit too much on. It's a weird theater. There's a name of a Jewish heretic in the back of the Jewish Y. There's Lincoln's name embedded just about where he was shot, which seems disrespectful. But it's been an interesting event. I like the idea of the poetry competition for teens, because I think it's good if children can also lose at poetry. I feel like that's sending the wrong message. I was a teenager, and there's enough you can lose at. We don't have to invent competitions. Here's something you might suck at. And chances are, if you're really good at poetry, you've already surrendered to the idea you're ever going to win a trophy. And it's going to be too heavy for you to carry anyway. So those of us good with words learn to carry our codependence inside, is what I'm saying. Trust and gratitude, that's a lot of bullshit, really. I mean, it's important to trust some people, some of the time, right? But we lie to ourselves, and if you're going to lie to yourself, how can you trust someone else? Maybe you think you trust someone else, but you're lying to yourself. How would you know? People are always giving you this advice that it's right for a moment, but maybe not that moment. People will tell you if you had a rough day, take it one day at a time. Who's taking it 2 days at a time? You never go into work? Hey, Bill, where were you on Wednesday? I took Tuesday 2 days at a time. It's terrible advice. Don't shit where you eat. What's the radius on that? Do I got to get another apartment? Oh, that's actually, if you live in New York, you'd literally shit where you eat. They advertise that as a feature. Like a luxury apartment in New York, you just can't see your toilet from your pillow. I'm doing all right, I got a curtain. Exercise, we talked about that. That's important. That I agree with. Since I started doing cardio, I've been able to hold a lot more anger in my heart. There are these things that we're told, and they make sense sometimes. Like, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Good. Let's not go touching people with poles. Advice, always just terrible advice. When I was a kid, my mom, she took me to an art class, and above the door, the teacher had hung a sign. It said, "A mistake is a creation not yet realized." And I was very inspired. And I remember my mom, she patted me on the head and she said, "Have fun in art class, my little creation." Yeah, my mom doesn't like that joke so much. She's like, "It's not even true. You were planned poorly." I knew before I arrived, that the speakers before me would be discussing death and illness, because whenever I'm booked at a conference, that's who speaks before me. I got asked, would you volunteer to perform at a Holocaust gala against the Holocaust, not for. And you'd be surprised, sometimes you really have to clarify. People get uptight. And I said, look, this is painfully obvious, but please just don't put me up after anyone discussing the Holocaust. For those who don't know, very sad time. A lot of bad stuff. PR nightmare for the Nazis. And although they are in all the movies, which is strange when you consider who makes the movies. And I followed a guy who talked about surviving Auschwitz and colorectal cancer. And there went half my act. People are like, oh, you can't make light of those topics, and you can, that's fine. They're sad, and I've like, you've never experienced that. It would be funny to you if you had a relative with cancer, and that's not true because my favorite uncle, which isn't saying much, but my favorite uncle is battling a rare blood cancer, and it's not all bad. He used to have a terrible unibrow. That's a chemo joke, and most of you are going for it, so that's fine. His kid doesn't like that joke. His father gets cancer, all of a sudden he's sensitive. But that's all right. You can make light. You have to see the positive in things, right? They're calling Obama a Nazi. I think that's fantastic. I mean, if you thought the presidency was a tough job for a black guy to get, Nazi, we have overcome. He is breaking down color barriers. A black Nazi. That'll confuse the Germans. What's the Schwarzer doing in the uniform? Well, he's very charismatic. It is time for change. You got to see the positive. I know I'm going to upset some people. If you have an old wooden bridge, I'm the guy to come burn it. But I have a little bit of Asperger's. I know I make bad decisions. I went online. I took the online autism test. I guess you're doing okay if you can log on and take the test. But I got a 39, and autism starts at 32. And I immediately thought, oh, 39, that's the product of two prime numbers, 3 and 13. Oh, shit. They used to call it Asperger's, but they took a vote and decided to take away the name Asperger's and just say it's part of the autism spectrum. And what could be more Asperger's-y than losing a popularity contest on what to call your disorder? Gee, I wonder why you couldn't get anybody with Asperger's to vote. Just chose to stick with ourselves. It's a very codependent conference. Bit of a codependent conference, really. I would have titled the conference, I Hate My Parents. And my ex is an asshole. That's what I would have titled the first half, if you want to be honest. Which you don't. Again, you want to lie to yourselves. Because if you learn, that's the thing, right? Like, there are lessons you should have learned in kindergarten that you have to learn the hard way. And I think one of the key lessons is that some people are better than other people. You don't want to hear that. In kindergarten, oh, everybody has to share, everybody's fine. First of all, that's all good advice, like until you got to hire a doctor. Right? And then you better hold up. I don't want to just go with the everyone's equal thing, okay? I want the Jew. All right. Well, I'll leave on a high note by just walking away. No, All right, I'll end with some advice, 40 seconds. This is advice. We live in a very goal-oriented society, and we say to ourselves, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to get this car, this house, this wife, this husband. We don't judge, one of both. And so we take that test, we go to that school, we do that project, we take that meeting. But no matter how hard you work, and no matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who is smarter than you, who is richer than you, better looking spouse, bigger house, nicer car. And I hope that that person is me. Thanks a lot, guys.